Welcome back to another episode of SIAG Employment Law Updates, where we break down the latest changes in workplace laws and how they affect your business and your employees. I'm your host, John Deeks, and today we begin a new series where we're looking at Community Clubs Victoria and the many intricacies of running a community club. With us today is Charlie Schroeder from SIAG. Hello, Charlie.
Hello, John. How are you doing?
I'm very well, and you may or may not be aware that I do a lot of work with CCV, and CCV in turn do a lot of work with you guys because you help keep all of our members up to date with law and many other things as well, employment benefits and details. So we're going to do a bit of a series, and the first one is going to deal with what?
Today we're going to be taking a bit of a look at public holidays.
We all have a public holiday, especially if you're an employee and you're happy to work.
Employers, not so much, as it can often become a bit of a headache, unfortunately.
So let's run through some of the key points you want to get through, Charlie.
Yeah, so essentially what we've done here is we've gone back and looked over all the calls that we receive, all the pieces of advice that we put out for our clients, and we've tried to put a bit of a summary together about what sort of questions usually come our way. And hopefully we can give a bit of a broad answer to some of those questions and save people a bit of time in the future in this podcast today.
So let me ask you the first question. What if a public holiday fell on an employee's RDO, rostered day off?
This is a common one that we get. So, in the Registered and Licensed Clubs Award, there is a very specific provision that sets out an entitlement for full-time employees only. Essentially, in the award, under Clause 31.4, Subclause A full-time employee, where a public holiday falls on their rostered day off, say they work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and the public holiday, let's say it's Christmas, falls on Sunday. So for full-time employees under this clause, where a public holiday falls on their rostered day off, they will actually be entitled to either an extra day's pay, an alternative day off within 28 days, which is often referred to as a day off in lieu, or they can receive an additional day's annual leave, even though they weren't meant to work that day. There is, however, one very clear exception to Clause 31.4a, and that exception is Easter Saturday. Meaning, if Easter Saturday was your employee's RDO, that is the one public holiday where they will not get either an extra day's pay, an alternative day off within 28 days, or an additional day's annual leave.
And this only applies to full-time workers who work Monday to Friday. And those who work full-time between Sunday and Thursday can still receive an extra day for Easter Saturday. What about an employee partially working on a public holiday?
So this is an interesting situation that we get calls about very often. Sometimes an employee will come in and they'll work maybe 4 hours, where generally they might have worked 8 hours on a given day. And their entitlements here are completely hinging on what they've been rostered to work. So, if I roster you on as your manager to have you come in and work on Christmas Day from 9 to 5, and then Christmas Day, as it likely would be, was pretty quiet, and I sent you home at, say, 3 p.m., what you'll be entitled to is public holiday penalty rates, so 2.5 times for the hours that you worked on Christmas. But then because you are rostered for those additional 2 hours that you didn't work, you will have those paid out to you at an ordinary rate, as if you didn't work those hours on the public holiday, because you didn't. However, if you are only rostered to work till 3, you won't get those 2 additional hours paid out at an ordinary rate, because that's what you were meant to do for the day. So you'll just get the 9 to 3 hours paid out at the penalty rate of 2.5 times.
Charlie, what if a public holiday is declared for Monday, but it's on the weekend, like Australia Day?
Right. So the important thing to pay attention here is the day that the public holiday was declared. A great example is Australia Day that's just come and passed. The 26th of January this year was on a Sunday, and therefore the public holiday was actually declared on the Monday following, on the 27th. That means that anyone who worked on the Sunday gets paid out at ordinary Sunday penalty rates.
Right.
And anyone who worked on the Monday gets paid out at the public holiday rate. So for all intents and purposes, where the public holiday is declared is where the entitlement will arise.
When are employees paid 1.5 times their rate on a public holiday, Charlie?
So this is a fairly specific situation, and we've actually had a few clients call up asking about this 1.5 times rate on a public holiday because that's what their payment software does. And the only time that can arise lawfully under the Registered and Licensed Clubs Award is where that employee is getting paid at a 1.5 times rate, but they're also receiving an additional day's annual leave or an additional day off within 20 days. So that means that when you take into account the additional day that they're getting off, it will equal to 2.5 times rate in terms of overall ultimate payment to the employee.
Well, Charlie, I've reached the end of my list, but I am just thinking, a couple of times you've said, however, and I bet there's a few more howevers out there on the Charlie Schroeder SIAG list as well.
Absolutely. That you know what, that however could be the catchphrase of employment law in general, and maybe even the law more broadly. So yeah, absolutely. There's, tons of more questions to be had about public holidays out there. And of course, the team at SIAG are always ready to pick up the phone and provide service wherever we can.
Please do on 03 9644 1400. Go to the website, but please, if you have any questions, if you're large or you're small, any of our CCV members, please do give SIAG a call. That's what the team are here for. Charlie and all the others are here to answer any questions you have. And Charlie, let this be the first CCV member podcast we can do to help them through all the complexities of employment law and more.
Absolutely. I'll look forward to the next ones. Thanks a lot, John.
I hope you enjoyed this and hope you got something from it. That's what it's all about. And John Deeks, on behalf of the team here at SIAG, we look forward to you joining us again next time.